just me? Or is it getting crazier out there?
Dino Media. Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back. Here we are again with me and Ted are just in this love-hate kind of thing going on
lately
with movies, and you know, I think next week we got something. This was okay. Ted has a different opinion than me. Haunted Honeymoon, 1986.
Is that what year this was from? 86?
Yeah, 1986. And
felt more like 88 to me.
It was written, directed by Gene Wilder.
And you can tell.
And I'll talk a little bit of why I love it so much and why I like it and why I wanted to do this.
I'm very interested.
Because I love it so much that I kind of wanted Ted to like it, but...
Well, I didn't go in not wanting to like it. I figured as long as it's not Mel Brooks, okay.
Yeah, but
I don't really care for it.
It's similar.
I'll try it.
Similar humor.
And then finally told him, I think I just like the idea of Gene Wilder more than I actually like Gene Wilder.
Oh, that's so sad.
I mean, I like Willy Wonka. I like the movies he did with Richard Pryor, but that's because of Richard Pryor, not at all because of him.
See, no,
that could have been any white guy.
Stir Crazy. I mean, so, you like Stir Crazy, right?
I love Stir Crazy. That's probably my favorite out of the bunch.
Okay, yeah. You know, see, there's so many good ones.
See No Evil, Hear No Evil, like you said, that's kind of a funny one, too.
The Woman in Red is another fantastic film.
Richard Pryor in that?
Tell me your favorite Gene Wilder films below.
They're all going to say Willy Wonka.
Yeah, that's true, but there's so many other good ones. But yeah, I mean, again, I'm going to talk about why I love it so much. But there's something I wanted to start off with, but it was so slow. And there's a thing at the beginning of the movie where they go, they're trying to. Well, maybe I should get into it when we start going on about the movie.
All right.
Why'd I even talk about that?
I don't know.
I'm not going to talk about it. You know.
Don't know.
But anyways.
But it starts off, the way it starts off kind of sets the tone. You got the big mansion, the lightning and everything. And that's sort of what he was trying to do, is make like an old dark house.
Old dark house.
Cat and a Canary, old early Universal movies.
He's a big fan of those like 1930s, old
thriller kind of. Yeah, I wouldn't even call like the Old Dark House a horror film necessarily.
Right.
It's borderline
spooky.
Comedy.
Spooky.
It's very tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
little spooky, little dark, but he was trying to make something sort of like that.
Yeah, you can tell Gene Wilder, he does love old Hollywood.
And even in Young Frankenstein, he used the actual sets from, some of the actual, the early Frankenstein film from 31, 32, whenever that came out. I can't remember. So there's love there for it.
And
I can appreciate that.
This is kind of like, 1930s kind of radio dramas that were like old-time radio shows.
That's his job. He's a radio star.
He's a radio star, and,
Finally got the hit show doing like thriller horror shows.
So all of this stuff, if you've watched all of our videos from the beginning to the end, or even halfway, you kind of know that's my thing. That's kind of what I love. I love old Hollywood, 1930s, 40s, old-time radio shows. There's nothing like back in the day when there wasn't TV and people couldn't get out to the theaters and stuff. You turn on the old radio and you listen to, you can listen to your comedy, your horror, your drama, but, tons of great stuff. And, Gene Wilder is a fan of this, and he kind of brought that to, that vibe to the... to this movie, and he even tried to keep the same kind of again, written directed, so he kind of wanted to bring his that kind of style to the film, shooting wise, keep this kind of same effects that you would use back then, same kind of shots and stuff like that, even the point where they're fighting kind of on the steps and stuff like that, and he during the fight scene, they speed up the film just to make it look like more of a fight scene than it would have been if it was slowed down. And they did that a lot back in the 30s and 40s. They would speed things up to make, it flow a little bit better.
Feeling a little bit.
Yeah.
They did that a lot.
So, but yeah, I mean, this all kind of revolves around kind of a werewolf type character. So it's a comedy horror movie, and.
So how does it? I'm trying to. So it starts off. They're doing the little radio show, and they're going to get married, right? Gene Wilder and his co-star on the radio show.
Gene Wilder plays Larry Abbott.
Larry Abbott. Yes.
Little twist on Lawrence Talbot, kind of. I don't know.
Maybe a little bit. Abbott,
but anyway,
Talbot.
Yeah. But yeah, and his soon to be fiance is Gilda Radner, plays Vicky Pearl, and yeah, they're both actor and actresses. Which there's a twist at the end that kind of is fun that plays into this. Ted got a kick out of it.
No. I didn't see that little thing there.
Twist that was.
When I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, all right, there you go, a twist,
like lemon,
like a shama llama llama llama.
But anyways,
twist.
yeah, it's basically those two, and they're doing a radio drama as the beginning, kind of.
It's a werewolf story that they're doing.
Yeah,
and there's a little break. They talk to reporters because they're getting married soon.
I forgot the name of the show that they were doing. Haunted Honeymoon.
It was called Haunted Honeymoon. It was the name of the show that they were doing.
Okay, yeah.
But I think it's the story under a broader scope of tales of terror, thrilling.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But then he starts to kind of go blank or go off the script.
Well, the people are up in the like the advertisers who
the sponsors.
Sponsors back in the day. Well, it's still like that now, but back in the day with the old radio dramas, they would pay for the broadcasting of each show each week for like a year, and brought to you by Camel cigarettes or something like that. Or,
it was always a cigarette.
It was always a cigarette back in the day, but
Crest toothpaste.
Yeah. Colgate toothpaste.
You didn't realize all this shit was still around. Was around back then. We still use it now, but
booming right at that age when things started getting done. But they're up there saying, everything's gone well so far, but the show ain't over yet.
Right, and they seem to know that he always gets a little goofy at the end, like he can't get that big finish. And something in the storyline is saying, if you want to detect if your lover's a werewolf, your husband's a werewolf, he'll stutter on the W's. Yeah. I never heard that in any werewolf or vampire lore, stumbling on the W's.
So in the stupid humor that I love, they're talking back and forth, and he starts to say like woo 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 woo.
Right, he's not doing it the way he's supposed to.
Yeah, and he starts doing this as they're.
It's almost like he's lost.
Doing the thunder and lightning kind of stuff.
Oh, well, shaking the sheet metal to make the thunder
it's
sound.
Kind of like a kind of a.
I wasn't really sure what was wrong. Yeah, was it kind of like a
something like that where you're not in the right frame of mind and you go off a little bit and you need to get hit back into scared straight again.
And that's what they're going to do in this movie.
Yeah, well, yeah, because once they find out that and there's a thing. He goes to the sound effects guy. He goes, he goes, "Is my tie straight?"
Yes. What is with that gag?
I thought that was funny as hell. Well, he goes, "Is my tie straight?" And the guy goes, "Your tie's fine." He goes, "Okay, but is it straight?"
Yeah, he does it twice, and I didn't get what was.
And he goes, what does he say again? The sound effect guy goes. Gene Wilder says
it's straight, and he says, "Swear to God."
Yeah, swear to God, which I thought was funny for some reason. And he goes, "I swear to God," and then he's fine. So
I don't get.
It's a funny little dumb.
It wasn't funny the first time he did it, and then he does it again later on.
I thought it was funny, and so will you. But you find out that
roasted.
Who's the guy? Dr. Paul Abbott, who's a big guy. He played who? And
Bluto in the 1980 Popeye
I told you that
movie,
right before the show. That
I
was him.
am a huge proponent. I love
proponent
or advocate.
A fan?
I really love that Popeye movie.
I did too.
And
that was one of the great adaptations of a cartoon.
Well, you know what? Maybe because my dad loves Popeye. He loves the old cartoons.
Shelley Duvall.
And my dad didn't take us to movie. Oh God! I'll tell you what though. At the time that movie came out, even to this day, that's the only actress I think that ever could have played Olive Oyl. There's just no one else.
Yeah, when you look back, I'm sure they could have found somebody that looked like
that.
But yeah, no, Shelley Duvall sounded.
To this day, there's no one that I think could have done that.
No, I know.
And Robin Williams pulled off, a great Popeye. But my dad didn't take us to movies very often. He didn't like to go. But he took me to that. Yeah. And I remember going to see that. Maybe that's why. But I wish that had a Blu-ray. I'd buy it in a second.
It's not on Blu-ray?
No, goddamn, it's
Son
not
of a
on
bitch.
Blu-ray yet. I'd love to get it.
But the character of Bluto played in that movie
I forgot the actor's name.
Yeah, I
Paul
forget now.
Smith or something like Paul L. Smith or something.
Yeah, Paul Smith, something like that. But anyways, he plays Dr. Paul Abbott in this, and he's a big.
He's a relative, right? He's like,
giant
is he an
figure.
uncle or?
Yeah, I think that's exactly
An
what
uncle?
he is. He's Gene Wilder's uncle, and he wants to. He comes through the door and he tells because they want to fire him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the biggest actors in
That's
Hollywood.
it. Yeah,
you
the
know.
sponsor's like, fire him. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah,
It's the second time he's done
And
it. and-
Dr. Paul Abbott comes through the doors and goes. He's always breathing heavy, and he's
that's
sweating
probably
because he's
real,
so-
yeah.
Yeah, that's right, because he's so
Because he's about
big
400
and,
pounds.
Yeah, he goes. The funny thing not to you, but he goes, "I want to scare him," and then there's a pause.
Dun, 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 dun.
To death,
Death.
and he says it a couple times. I get a kick out of that. I don't know. It's funny, you know, the little pause in between, and you wait for it. And,
It's funny in Arrested Development when they say, wait for it. And then, why? I don't know why that's funny there, but it's not funny here. I don't know.
But his thing is he wants to get them. They're going to get married at Aunt Kate's big estate, the Abbott estate.
And
A
for
big,
a second, I
gigantic
thought this was
mansion.
going to be the mansion from Rocky Horror because it sure kind of
Looks a little bit like that.
And I've seen it in a couple of Hammer movies too. The
Yeah.
same one because the statue's in front. You know, the Scooby-Doo on acid.
Yeah.
If you know Rocky Horror. And
it's
not that house,
picturesque
but damn, I thought it
mansion
was
of
at
a
first.
house. Yeah.
When you saw it from a distance, I'm like, I think that's the house
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, no, it's a recognizable, mansion.
I'll bet it's been. I bet if we looked it up, I bet it's been in a movie that we've seen.
Yeah, we should have looked that
Mm-hmm.
up. But it's that mansion, man. It looks just a sprawling estate and perfect for the haunted house feel that he wanted to get from this, And Dr. Paul Abbott's job was to fix
It's
Gene
like
Wilder,
and it's going to be the whole family's going to be there.
Yeah.
and evidently,
and they want to
they're
scare
all
him to
in
death.
on it.
Yeah. Not all at first,
Or
but
no?
he
Some of them
kinda,
are in on it.
Yeah, some of them are like
You
Montego.
don't know right away.
Yeah, like we've got like Montego, who's married to another abbot.
He's a magician, right?
Yes, he's the magician. His eyes glow.
The
He-
Egyptian magician.
very funny interaction between him and Rachel, who is the maid, and the butler, little old lady. She's played by Anne Way, who's in old Hollywood.
She was kind of funny.
Yeah, and
She was probably the saving grace of the movie, man.
yeah, she was
Because
she
she's
was
so
good.
odd looking. Her eyes are so close together.
She was in a lot of movies back in
She
the
looks
40s
odd.
and during that period, but yeah, kind of.
And when she and her husband's the butler, Feister.
Yeah.
And I love when I did love the part where she says something like, oh, he's probably drunk as a skunk.
Yeah, it's your typical, like back in the day, and you would get that a lot in the 30s and 40s in the movies where, the maid and the butler, are, the butler's always drunk, the wife's trying to always, they come as a pair, and they're always trying to get them on the straight and narrow, and he's always drunk and
He's
doing
got his
this.
little bottle. She takes it away. He's got another one. And
But Pfister, he can't. He's kind of in and out with his memory and stuff like that.
yeah, I was going to say, why does he not recognize Larry at first
Yeah.
when Larry and Vic,
because
Vicky arrive?
Yeah.
But then after that, he recognizes him and recognizes him for the rest of the movie. I don't think he forgets who he is the rest of the movie. It seemed a little odd.
he said something down in the basement that kind of, and then he came back.
Maybe.
Yeah, who knows?
This
There's
is
a
your show,
little
so.
dementia going on, I guess, a little bit, but who knows? But man, how about those eyebrows on him, man?
Those were-
They were like gophers.
Like a Wolverine.
Yeah,
It
something
was
about
like
the
Linda
eyes,
Hayden's
man.
on Blood from Satan's Claw. I mean, just this
Oh.
big bushy eyebrows.
Yeah.
We're gonna give these to the demon.
And
Here's the flesh
who
I'm
do you get?
offering.
You get Charles, who is his brother, who is
That's played by Jonathan Pryce. He's actually
Jonathan
a pretty,
Pryce, yeah.
He's actually a pretty good actor. He's been
Yes.
in lots of things. A few Terry Gilliam films. He's in Brazil,
Ginger
starring
Tea.
role in Brazil. Believe he was in Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
Yep.
Maybe even Time Bandits. I just can't remember what he might have played in Time Bandits. I can't remember if he
I
was in
can't
it or
remember.
not.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's mostly where I remember him
Jonathan
from. He's been in
Pryce.
other stuff, but he and Terry Gilliam did several films together.
Yeah, but he plays Charles, who's his brother, who likes to, go back and forth with his brother Larry, Gene Wilder, and he's married to Sylvia.
Are they married?
Or no,
they're not married. Because he's broke.
Right, he's broke.
He says
and she tells him, "I'll marry you even if you had nothing."
$100. No, she said $100. He's like,
he goes, "I wish I had
$100."
But she's got the red lipstick on, and she's one of those girls.
She's good to go.
Yeah,
man, she was loosey goosey.
And the interaction between Gilda Radner and her during the, when they go to their rooms, because
she was Larry's old girlfriend.
Yeah.
And when she sees him, she gets that little fire down below.
She kisses them all up and stuff. Fire down below.
That fired. Oh yeah.
Water up above. Oh, see, water puts out the fire. Oh,
and then when Vicky sees all the lipstick on him, he says it was Rachel, the old beady-eyed maid.
And was that funny? Where
she was so happy to see me.
Pushes her,
hey! She pops
Rachel,
up.
come on.
And she says something. She's like, ye shall reap what ye sow. Because she heard him lying.
Yeah.
And he just grabs her and brings him towards her. Like, get off me.
Yeah. But there's a lot of funny little sequences and stuff like that, too. But, another thing that and I'll get a little serious here, that I really enjoy about... So first off, Gene Wilder, I am just such a big fan. You know how big of a fan I am of Woody Allen?
Yep.
It's like along those lines with Gene Wilder. There's nothing too much that Gene Wilder can do that I have never liked. I like Quacks or Fortune. That first movie, I'm trying to remember it, but everything he's done has been great. I just love him. He's one of those guys that you just,
You say he's your favorite actor?
No, I didn't say that. I was
just wondering.
There's just something.
I know you love him. So
there's just something about him that just brings joy to me when I'm watching a movie, whether it be, like I said, any of these, Woman in Red, Young Frankenstein. But then you find out the story behind his life. I've plenty of documentaries about his life and what he went through in his. He wasn't a womanizer, but he fell in love. He's one of those romantics who fell in love a couple times in Hollywood, and there's always a story behind it. In an earlier film, Quacks or Fortune, there was a little boy in the town that followed him, and he eventually never really had any children. I think he did have a child with a later wife. But anyways, he pretty much took this kid because he didn't have nobody, and adopted him. And, Gene Wilder passed away not long ago, and kept hold, with this kid from that movie way back in the day, who's grown up now and considers him a father. That's the type of guy he is. Now I'm losing people because they're like, I don't want to hear this pity. But no, he eventually found Gilda Radner. They met on the set.
A hot piece of ass, let me tell you.
Well, see, he fell in love. He loved her wit, and come on, Gene Wilder. He's no
what?
He's no Brad Pitt or something like that.
No, he's not.
So, but he met Gilda Radner on a set of Hanky Panky, and
Hanky Panky ensued.
Soon fell in love, and by this movie, 1989, they were full on married.
Full blown.
She dealt with most of it, and this is where the sadness kind of comes in, and
she croaked.
Touches me a little bit. Yeah, she died in 1989, 3 years after this film was shot. During the filming of the show, she had a miscarriage. She found out news that she was pregnant.
Wilder's kid?
Yep.
Oh, man.
And lost the baby during the filming.
Right, because she had that ovarian cancer.
Which I was getting to,
Sucking all them cigarettes, probably.
Well, she had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Once stardom hit, most of her life, actually. I'm not going to say once Saturday Night Live hit, but most of her life she had, she was a bulimic, suffered from that. Sad stories of just the big bins of vomit pushed in the back of closets and stuff that she would just go in. It just was very...
Why did she keep it?
Very
I mean, flush that shit.
Well, that's the mental issues that she had and involved,
I don't know about any mental issues where you got to keep vomit.
Ted, have you watched Hoarders? Have you seen any of those shows where people have?
Is there anybody in that
OCD
show where
problems?
they're keeping vomit?
I saw people that kept shit and stuff. So
Oh.
same line of.
See, that's why I don't watch that show.
Yeah, I don't really either, but But anyway,
I did watch it one time when my wife was having surgery because I was at the clinic. I was just sitting in the waiting room. That's what was on the TV, and I didn't know how to change the channel. So I laid there and watched episode after episode. It was pretty depressing.
Oh no, it is. It's very depressing.
That was the only time I've ever seen it.
But after this movie was shot in 1986, soon after she fell ill. Gene Wilder stuck by her side. This basically was the last film she made. She did appear on It's the Gary Shandling Show 2.5 years later, just because she was fighting the cancer. She's trying to be strong, and came on there and did a little short thing. I think made a joke about cancer, and eventually.
And then it got her.
And eventually, yeah,
That's
89.
You joke about it.
89 died, and Gene Wilder just loved her till and even his films.
How long did he wait before he got married again?
I can't remember.
About 6 months, something. Fell in love real hard again with this.
You're such an asshole.
With this Jamaican masseuse named Reggie, and
Gene Wilder. He always
Jamaican masseuse.
He always had he's always talked about it. If you listen to like some of the documentaries later on, even after Gilda died and stuff.
What kind of name is Gilda?
I'm just going to move on.
Who names their kid and goes, I like the name Gilda.
Going to move on from here.
It's like Blanche. Whoever thought Blanche was a pretty name?
Yeah, I hear you there. But the touching relationship, the way Gene Wilder is, Gilda Radner, the story behind what was going on during this film, I don't know, it's just a touching kind of
behind-the-scenes love story about a couple in love getting married in the movie. I get it.
Okay, go on.
Well, no, I get it. It's nice. There's a little bit of what was going on behind the scenes. Falling in love. Making movies.
Yeah.
That weren't particularly successful. And, well, it's got a 1% on Rotten Tomatoes, for God's sake. And I think that's from your review.
Hey, you guys, you may like it, you may not. I mean, I don't know. It's like I said, it's a comfort thing for me. I love it. Anything Gene Wilder does is great. I love this humor. If you like Mel Brooks kind of humor, you probably will like this.
And maybe I'm in the minority because I know people love him.
It's just
people love Blazing Saddles, Young Frank, and I don't.
It's
laugh
just
at
not
all.
your thing, and I get it.
I
But
I will always try.
I'm recommending this movie, and that's why we're doing this.
That's right.
Hey, yeah, we always pick the odd movies and stuff, but irregardless of if it's great or if it's not, we go for it. So. I mean, this one I'd say give it a shot, especially if you're a Gene Wilder fan. The story is fun, and
they're doing these little things to try to scare him. I mean, it starts off with like a snake in the drawer.
Yeah, when he first comes up,
there's
well, it's a real snake, but
it is a real snake at first. But then when they go and look in the drawer, it's just a stuffed snake.
Yeah,
and I don't know how he got up on top of the moose head. Got so scared.
Yeah,
got up on top of the moose head. There's a wolf man. Because that's what they're talking about, that there's a curse.
We didn't even talk about the very beginning when the film first starts. Yeah. It comes in and pans on the mansion and comes up to a window, and you see a maid being killed at the window. And
banging on the window.
Opens up the window and flops down, and the wig falls off. Yeah. And comes back up, and it's a guy...
with a knife in the back.
And he goes, what does he say?
Something like, it's not what you're expecting, or something like that.
Yeah, and then he goes, and then it pans over a little bit, and then he comes up and he goes,
maybe it's a little bit what you're expecting.
Yeah, so that was funny. And but then you get the shot of the werewolf and Dom DeLuise,
supposedly the family has a curse.
Who's in drag and plays Aunt Kate.
Dom DeLuise is usually really funny, and for some reason I think he was all that funny in this movie. Leaving everything. He didn't do much. He He didn't
Well,
do much.
yeah,
And Dom DeLuise is
and he wasn't a big part of the movie.
if you've seen Fatso or Hot Stuff back in the day, I mean, those were funny.
Oh yeah, no, he's
Mm-hmm.
he's
I remember going to see Hot Stuff at the drive-in.
hot stuff. Oh my god! And you said Fatso. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some movies, man. Dom DeLuise. He was 70s man. He had a couple of
Even in the Muppet
interesting-
movie, he was the first guest star in the Muppet
yeah,
movie.
Yeah, yeah.
In the rowboat in the swamp.
Yep. But at the very beginning, he's kind of Aunt Kate, played by Dom DeLuise, is, and I forget who he mirrored his character from a Barrymore. I forget her name from the early 30s film.
Yeah, because that whole family was movies that goes way back to the silent era, in case you didn't know. It didn't start with Drew.
No.
They go all the way back to Lionel and John. And
Barrymore's, man.
the very first Frankenstein was played by a Barrymore in a silent film.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. So he's right. She's talking about her will and that she's leaving everything to Larry Talbot and Larry Abbott. And
but if he dies,
cutting
it's
everybody
all-
out of the will.
right,
But
he has to die for it to be divided amongst everyone else.
So with them trying to scare
And a guy overhears that.
Yeah.
The werewolf.
the werewolf guy.
Who's not really. Excuse me. Well, we don't know.
Yeah,
By the end, we don't know. But
At first, there's a werewolf that's, hired, I think, to take care of.
But then the end's got a little. Well, almost the end, where it says almost the end.
Right.
Maybe it was a werewolf. I don't know.
Yeah.
And there's all these hijinks ensue to try to scare him to death. They've got Gilda
Hijinks.
Radner involved in it, trying to be like almost Salem's Lot-ish, floating outside the window in her wedding dress. Larry. And I thought that was like a dream or something at first, and then you realize she's tied up on ropes. And
You were falling in and out of sleep while you were watching.
no,
this,
I was trying to figure out what was going on, and I didn't realize she was in on it.
Oh, and when Dom DeLuise, his voice is just like, and he comes out in a slow tone, low tone. He goes, "This house is cursed. It's cursed." I mean, just the way he acts. I mean, I love Dom DeLuise too.
And they try to throw you some red herrings, like the one. What's her name? She's a Abbott. She comes in
What's her
and she goes to pet the
the
dog,
one married
and the
to
dog
one married to Montego, the magician.
and the dog's growling at her. So I'm thinking, okay, all right, maybe it's her, but no,
Well, they had to throw their little.
they throw the little red herrings at the MacGuffins here and there.
They got to make you think it might be somebody else. And I think they did a good job at surprising you.
You don't know until the end.
On who it is at the end. I mean, I think they did a good job. But
They even throw a dead body in his bed, and then when he goes to get out of the room, there's a brick wall there.
Yeah.
And then he closes it, then opens it back up. He can get out in the hallway. He's trying to get Feister, I think.
Yeah.
And when he comes back, you see the body being dragged through a secret door. I mean, just to make him crazy.
They did some interesting things in the movie that...
Now, what about the guy that was standing on the wall?
Yeah, that was
How the
interesting.
hell did that happen? There's a
have no
guy, he
idea.
almost looks like I thought it was almost like a Frankenstein kind of character at first. Just a deformed-looking guy, and he's actually... Like, if the head of the bed is here, he's actually standing and walking towards the bed. And Gene puts his hands on his face. He's putting his fingers in his nose. I don't know why he's doing all that.
For comedic reasons.
Well, I know, but it's not funny.
I thought
Because no one would do that. It's funny when, like a Laurel and Hardy film. Like, you could see people doing that.
Well, I'm not putting anything down that we love, like Lauren and Hardy, but come on. Some people think that's funny. But anyways, yeah.
But I mean, I can watch the Three Stooges hit each other for 3 hours in a row.
Right.
I mean, but I just
I
feel
could
like
too. Yeah.
there's something more sublime about that for some reason. I don't know. Comedy is very different, and we all love to laugh, and
We do.
it's funny how something that you think is so funny, I don't.
Well,
And there's
it's not even like Laurel and Hardy funny. It's just I enjoy the films. It makes me smile.
right.
I think that's the best way to say it. I'm not cracking up, but I'm smiling. and I'm enjoying it immensely. So I think that's kind of where I'm at with the film.
Yeah.
So what?
No, it's just I was agreeing with that sentiment.
Yeah. So
I love to laugh, and unfortunately,
and all the little things.
a lot of things, especially modern comedies, a lot of sitcom TV shows.
Yeah.
I don't see what everybody else sees in it, and it's not that I'm a stick in the mud or anything. I just like different stuff, I guess. I mean,
Well, yeah. I mean,
I grew up
love,
watching a lot of British comedies and a lot of the older shows. I mean, I still think The Honeymooners is probably like one of the funniest. I'm sure you agree too.
Can't disagree.
One of the funniest shows ever.
Favorite shows of all time: Honeymooners, All in the Family,
Three's Company,
Sanford and Son, Three's
for
Company.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, those are. I'd say that's
Like
my
I would say,
top
like
four.
out of a long running sitcom, I'd say like probably Three's Company. I think is probably the funniest and consistent because I've watched it all the way through a few times. And
Depends what mood you're in too. If you feel like the old '50s black and white of the Honeymooners, then there you go.
but that was short lived. I mean, that was like a season, 30 some episodes, and
there's a shit ton of lost
great.
episodes too, though, man.
Oh, the ones
because there was the
holiday ones.
There was the Jackie Gleason show that put on a lot of these skits before it was actually the Honeymooners, and there were bits and pieces and short segments, a lot of them 15 minutes. Throughout.
They're on Amazon.
Yeah,
the lost episodes, they're all on Amazon.
Yeah.
So you can catch a lot of them.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that, but they're on there. So and where his wife was played by a different actress at the time, and I don't like her as much.
No, I didn't like either one of them.
No. But I mean, the one that he had in the show proper was perfect. But
Alice and Trixie when Audrey Meadows and Joyce Randolph took off from the show, and Jackie Gleason brought in the two other actresses. It just wasn't the same. No matter what. And then to see it in color.
Yeah, that was weird too.
On top of it was
like some of the Christmas one. I think
I tried to get into it. I mean, it's amazing how you can love something so much and then see them try to recreate it.
Or he's got a mustache and some of them. Like, that doesn't look right.
Even with Jackie Gleason and Ed Norton.
Yeah.
And played by
Art Carney.
Art Carney, duh. I had a brain fart there.
It's okay.
Those two, even with them two there, the staple, it's just the color, the two actresses, just it wasn't the same.
But the classic 39, there's not a bad one in the bunch.
No.
Not a bad one.
They're all
not. Funny. Some are funnier than others.
Heck yeah.
Even though it takes place in an older time, not that long ago, but 50, 70 years ago, 65 years ago.
Seems like a long...
It's a lifetime for a lot of people, but...
Different era, man.
But the comedy still stands, and I can still,
watch
being
it,
married and everything, I can still, and having lived in small apartments and things, I can relate to some of those things, and to struggling and not always having money back, when you're first starting out, and that's funny. Three's Company, John Ritter made that show. I mean, and the peripheral characters were all pretty funny too. So in Sanford and Son, you got Red Fox, and plus the writers on that show, you had Richard Pryor and Paul Mooney writing on that show, and All in the Family, like
we go to sitcoms.
Well, I mean, we're talking about humor in general.
Oh no, right?
And
we're all over the place.
That was funny, and I can't really tell you why something like a Mel Brooks or this film doesn't. I don't know. Maybe because that humor is a little. I don't know if it's more sophisticated or grounded in something a little bit more real.
If comedy just doesn't hit you, then it just doesn't hit you.
Right. You can't, and it's
if
hard to explain.
Humor, it's
hard to explain.
I can't explain why I enjoy it so much.
Like I'll watch this
so
and
dumb.
go, why does he like it? What is it?
I can be.
I want to know.
And I can be in a room full of people, and I can see something Mel Brooks says that's so stupid. Like, the streets are crawling with soldiers, and they pan to the street, and the street's literally just crawling with soldiers. And you're like, that is the dumbest freaking thing I've ever heard or seen. But I'm looking at it, and I'm
maybe because I didn't see these when I was younger.
cracking up inside.
I did not. I think the only one of those movies I watched was Spaceballs. And I remember not liking Spaceballs because it made fun of all the movies I liked. And and
maybe that had something to do with it.
I really didn't care for it.
It put you off.
And I never, I think my father-in-law wanted to rent Blazing Saddles one time. It was like, guys' night or whatever.
Yeah.
And I got it, and he's cracking up everything. And I'm just, I don't really get why this is funny, And
I think you get it, and it hits that spot, or it doesn't.
Yeah.
That's all.
We did Young Frankenstein, and it's one of our best rated shows. It's got tons of views.
Yeah.
And I just, there's a couple parts in it I thought were funny, but, and Terry Garr's a vision in it and all that, but, other than that, but that's, but I like Mr. Bean. I mean, what can I say?
So do I.
I like Monty Python.
Which is kind of, Mr. Bean, that's slightly more highbrow and funnier.
I'd say it's like silent comedy. And plus, I grew up watching a lot of that because my dad was a big fan of silent comedy.
Yeah. So
I watched Buster Keaton and Harold Lloyd and Laurel and Hardy silent films and all those guys. So, I mean, I don't know. I go more towards that and...
Yeah.
Or Jerry Lewis. I loved Jerry Lewis.
Oh, frick.
As stupid as some of his humor is.
There's another guy who... we talk Woody Allen, Gene Wilder. Jerry Lewis is right up there with them. For
some reason, I could watch Jerry Lewis movies all the time.
Yes, I love
Don Knotts.
Everything Jerry Lewis has done. Don Knotts is another one, but I mean, not to the point of. Jerry Lewis is just.
Or the Carol Burnett show. I know we're both big fans of that.
Yeah.
I could watch the Carol Burnett show.
Well, What got me with Carol Burnett's show is Tim Conway. He made that show.
A bunch of those are on Amazon. Me and my daughter were watching them because she and I was showing them
Harvey Korman,
Thelma Hopkins, because we've always watched Mama's Family on like MeTV.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
we'll get back to Honeymoon in a minute.
And these are like 1968, 19. I go, that's her.
Yeah.
I go, I know you can't tell. I go, but that's her there.
Her,
But yeah, I mean, the one I saw, I think it was the first one with Tim Conway in it, and. He's just gold.
Oh my god!
And he did I know we're going off here, but he did a dentist one.
Talk about whatever. Yeah.
And I think Mr. Bean ripped that off because he ends up getting injecting his leg with the numbing stuff and getting all his legs getting all wobbly and everything. And Mr. Bean's got one.
Yeah.
He's got an episode. The same thing happens.
Comedy is always taken from the past.
But see, the Brits may not have had Carol Burnett. I don't know, so maybe they didn't know.
I don't know. Yeah, the Carol Burnett show with Tim Conway is just, he's fantastic.
Yeah, so I can't really say, nobody else in my family really cares about Jerry Lewis. I mean, I have the kids watch. I go, watch The Bellboy. It's fantastic. He doesn't say one word. Find me one other comic actor that can do that.
All the other, even the older stuff, man, with him and Dean Martin pairing up in the Army now and stuff like that. I mean, they're fantastic. But
they were the Beatles before the Beatles were around. I mean, they were huge.
Yeah. Dean Martin,
their hotel rooms, the streets would be crowded with people. When they were in town doing a live show or a movie premiere or something like that. They were huge.
Tim Conway, the funniest thing, if you look up Harvey Korman and Tim Conway skits on YouTube, you could find them too, where he plays the old man, is fantastic. Funniest thing ever. There's a dressing room scene with Tim Conway as the old man, Harvey Korman getting dressed for, getting on stage. All of the comedy that Tim Conway does in that sketch in a short 15 minutes, I don't think it's up there as one of the funniest sketches of any kind that I've ever seen in my life. Every time I watch it, I crack up laughing and cannot stop. Mr. Wiggins is another one where Carol Burnett plays a secretary and Tim Conway's a little, he's got this little belly and a little hairpiece that keeps falling over, and he's Mr. Wiggins. Funny every single episode. But anyways.
And he's from around here, so we like him a little bit more. He used to be
from
on
this Cleveland
He would be
area.
on Chagrin Falls, actually, and he would be on Big Chuck and Little John sometimes if he was in town and stuff. So we saw him a little bit more.
But Haunted Honeymoon.
I always have more fun talking about the other shit.
No, I know. I know. Well, we'll wrap this up here a little bit. I mean, it's kind of just a fun thing. Again, the take on the old haunted house movies, from the 40s and stuff, are in this kind
Even
of movie.
Even the dumb police show up. I like how they're
dumplings,
driving
yeah.
around and they see some lights or something flashing. Like,
Yeah.
isn't that the old Abbott place?
Yeah.
It's like, you have to say that? I mean, it's
Right.
how many mansions you got in this town?
That big,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah. No,
And they go in, they're complete dunces.
Yeah.
And what was it? Who is he? He's dancing with the dead guy with
out in the lawn.
the basement or on the lawn.
There are two dead people. You know, it's that maid guy in the very beginning, and then
Francis Jr., who likes to dress up as women, evidently.
yeah. And the guy later in the basement who gets it, who was playing the werewolf who was paid to
Kill
Yeah.
Larry so that everybody else
right.
could get their inheritance.
He ends up getting killed by somebody else who takes on the werewolf kind of.
We find out it was just makeup.
Is it a real werewolf that killed this fake werewolf? Or, I mean, we don't know because of the twist on the end, but, you know, that's kind of going on. And yeah, the scene where the two bodies were... things start to pick up here, you know, like in any other movie. And Gene Wilder's being tricked and tried to be scared on everything and makes his way out on the lawn. And yeah, the cops are coming and they're looking around. And he's holding up
Realizes
the body.
who he is.
Yeah.
And, can I get an autograph? And he's sitting there, you know, dancing.
This is my
trying
wife,
to say it's
Vicky.
Vicky.
He's holding a dead
That's
body
Vicky
in his arm.
Pearl.
And Pfister is on the bench with the other dead person going like this. Kind of like Clue. Which has, you know, Gene Wilder. It was kind of a little inspiration.
What was the
like
part where the
Clue
legs are
thing.
sticking out and Gene Wilder's just standing up?
Oh.
And he's
When
that was a little funny.
Pfister
with the
fell
legs.
in the this coal bin, you know, and Gene Wilder was in there. And the way Pfister's legs were over.
Says this is where he practices, he
Yeah.
rehearses. Except for the rats, that's really the worst part about
Well,
it.
and Gene Wilder like kind of puts his robe over, like those are his legs, and the cops come down, and he, you know, he starts hollering like murder, murder, you know,
Yeah.
saying
Murder.
this is the noise you heard.
That's what people
I'm
used to
down
do
here
back in the day. Murder!
Murder! It's bloody murder.
Out in the streets of Whitechapel.
But yeah, I mean, all of this stuff ensues, and Larry even gets buried alive, you know, at one point when everybody comes out.
Little Edgar Allan Poe there.
Yeah, everybody comes out, and Aunt Kate, Dom DeLuise, is the one that, I'll stay behind, you know, and sits down there and finds out because the dog starts digging up where he was buried and you know, lets him out of the coffin. And I guess, you know, he's
Scares him to death.
you know, maybe he's fine now. I don't know, but running after. And meanwhile, during this take is when you start, and it's towards the end of the movie, where you find out who the person trying to kill Larry is, and it ends up being because Charles, Jonathan Price, Larry's brother, is in kind of the kitchen calling the police. You know, and he's talking to him. A conversation.
Before that, you see a gloved hand with a clipper cut the phone cord.
Yeah. And Vicky, Gilda Radner, is in the kitchen watching him talking on his phone, and she drops something, and she looks down, and she sees the phone cord cut, and she gets up and goes, and of course he picks up on it, and then he's
having a whole conversation.
Oh yeah,
evidently, but she knows it's fake.
Yeah, and you know, the chase ensues, and that's when, you know, Larry comes running in, you know, through the castle. I mean, the mansion, whatever, castle, fine. And you know, follows him, you know, gets him on the stairs. The fight ensues up the thing, and Dom DeLuise, Aunt Kay, shoots him through the window.
Yeah.
And he falls out, and she goes, "That was." Wait, what's she about my vase? That was my most. Wait,
It was like a $5,000 vase.
Oh, that's what she says. That was a $5,000 vase, and only one of three in the world.
One of three in the world.
And I forget. Pfister says something, but it doesn't matter. She shoots him, and he falls out, and you know, we're basically at the end of the movie. That's kind of what happens with this movie, and spoilers if you haven't seen it. The very ending of the movie, it kind of switches to them in the studio.
It was all a
performing
show.
Haunted Honeymoon.
Dom DeLuise
that
is
was
there.
just
the other
played out.
actors are there.
Yeah, and Dom DeLuise isn't a drag. They're all there, kind of joking, laughing, talking in the mic and stuff, and winding things up because they're getting ready to go on their honeymoon.
Mm-hmm.
They really are getting married, and end up, shoving off.
Shove off.
And the ending of the movie is the car driving away, and the werewolf turns around when it says it's almost over.
He says something like, "Was it real? Was it not?" or something, and he turns around and it's the werewolf.
Yeah.
So you don't know. Maybe the werewolf was real.
Yeah. And that's the movie. I mean, it's just a movie that's got this feel to it, and kind of old.
Was it a successful movie at all? I don't.
It was a bomb.
Was it?
Yeah.
Is this the only film he directed, or did he direct other films?
No, he did. He directed other films. I'd have to go on the IMDb to tell you exactly which one again. But yeah, this was his last written and directed movie.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe. But and with everything that happened right after, I mean, Gilda had 3 years of cancer, battle with cancer, and ends up dying in '89. So, and then he started getting a little bit older. His movie started slowing down. If you look before this movie, movie
was always around.
Always, something.
Growing up, he was always around when we were growing up.
But yeah, I mean, just
and then ended up complications from Alzheimer's, right? That's.
At the very end,
at the end,
yeah.
2016, he passed. So it's been going on 4 years.
I know, geez, 4 years, yeah. I remember watching a documentary with him walking around with Alec Baldwin, just going on talking about his life and everything else, Gilda, other stuff. But, at least he had most of his, mind up until, his early 80s there, and then I think things started going, but I mean, just a great guy, great actor, and this movie is just kind of a warm movie for me, and one I would recommend watching. And if you're feeling down, it's raining outside, pop in Haunted Honeymoon and let me know what you think, if you like it or not, So yeah, that's our recommendation this week, or a review, talk about. We really don't do reviews, do we? We kind of
Our reviews go long.
Yeah, it's just kind of a banter back and forth. I mean, I'm always wondering.
We do our tangents.
Yeah, I always wonder whether to even call this a review or a vlog or what the hell you would call it.
It's a discussion. It's a
square
table discussion.
A square table, rectangular,
rectangular,
long and rectangular. I think this table is 8 feet long.
Is it?
I think so.
Probably close.
Yeah, 8 feet long.
Bless. Look at that.
We need a big turkey in the middle and goblets.
I want to drink mine out of a ram's horn.
Yeah.
Drink out
Me at one end, you at the other. Yeah.
It's like the table at Valhalla.
Can't wait to switch things up here a bit and with the set and stuff. And
right.
Big things coming. But
big things.
Saying nothing about it now. Who knows? May quit next week. I don't know. May say, the hell with it.
What will I do on Tuesdays?
With the way this... Hey, I'm just glad to be here with Ted talking about these movies.
Gets
and
me out of the house.
Who are here watching these with us. But
next week we'll have a cool one. We're going to do the new Color Out of Space with Nicolas Cage, Richard Stanley directing, H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
We finally got a chance to watch that, so we're going to talk about that.
He's seen it. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
So we'll. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be next week.
Still hitting some theaters, and it should be out on Blu-ray and digital next month. But I want to talk about it while it's fresh in my head.
Yeah.
So
fresh.
Talk about it. Compare it to the story. Compare it to Die Monster Die, which was the original filmed version of it. And there was a 2010 version of it, German produced, which is on a couple of the streaming channels to watch for free. So,
yeah, mein Gott, space.
I think it's in English, but it's just from like German produced, whatever, like the actors and everything.
And didn't they say on set that they just they made everybody, like, there's a certain drug or something like that you can give somebody to make them go colorblind? and they were like messing with their heads,
Might be interesting.
you know, just to make the
Gave
movie
them all hits of acid.
flow better. They said, it's not purple. It's not
They all
green."
huffed hairspray or something.
Huffed hairspray.
But that'll be next week.
Fluorocarbons.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah. Speaking of color out of space,
That's right. Sort of.
that's not purple. That's magenta.
It's a color I've never seen before.
All right. So thanks for hanging with us, you guys, and until next week. See ya.
Is it just me? Or is it getting crazier out there?